I'm delighted to have Carolyn McGill from Ayrshire College today. Carolyn's going to talk about moving on to some of the great options for social care via the SWAP programme, looking specifically for students who are moving on to the HNC. So hi Carolyn, thanks for coming to talk to us today.
No bother.
Is it a difficult option for students to take? What challenges should they expect?
It's certainly not an easy option, I can say that. Just to sort of make it clear, the HNC is what we class as level 7, so it's a level up from the SWAP access course. However, it's the exact same level as first year at university. So the course materials are set at the same level, the marking is set at the same level, so lecturers are looking for that step up from level 6 where students come and join us to level 7 writing, and that is very similar to the other people in the class. So we may have people who came through the levels in the college and the previous level would have been level 6, but we also get people who come directly from school. So their last level of qualification will be hires, and they will be taking that step up from level 6, which is the higher level, to level 7, which is first year university or HNC.
Yeah, so it sounds as though there'd be quite a good mix of students in the class then, Carolyn, which could be a bit different to the SWAP year.
There's usually a really good mix of people, and quite often I start off the year saying to students that I will learn more of them than they will learn of me. Unfortunately, not all of that's about social care. However, there's always good experiences that we can share within the classroom. So people who come from perhaps having a wide range of social care experience, and other people who have not worked in social care before. And I think that's a really good mix because people learn off each other. Because sometimes the experience that we bring is not always a positive experience. So having other people there to challenge that and say, I wouldn't have thought that would have happened, I didn't think that would be something that happened in social care, is always good to challenge your thinking and your practice.
Yeah, and I think the thing with social care as well, one of the great opportunities is that students can get their qualification, but there's also opportunities for them to work alongside their studies, but also to think about getting into work from the HNC as well. Could you talk a little bit about that, Carolyn?
Well, the HNC is what we call a registrable qualification, so it is required if you want to register with the SSSC. So if you were to go for a job in most types of social care these days, they're looking for you to have the minimum qualification that's necessary for you to register with that body. So the HNC gives you that opportunity. It actually allows you to register at quite a high level, so you know, like a senior support worker, someone who's coming with a lot of experience as well, they would actually get the opportunity to apply for jobs such as a social work assistant, or as some local authorities call that, a paraprofessional as well. So coming to the HNC isn't an end point for people, it's a starting point, whether they want to go into university after they've finished SWAP and then HNC, but it gives them the opportunity to work while they're studying. Other people decide that at that point in their life, HNC is what they want to achieve and they go into employment. I would have to say for our students who do want to go into university, but perhaps want to stay at college for that HNC year to require just a bit more support, they do very well in their university applications because they have got the added bonus, I suppose, of having SWAP and a higher level qualification. And it seems to be working really, really well with universities and they're getting awarded places.
Yeah, so there's multiple options for moving on from the HNC when you're looking at the social care, which I think is great for our students as well. And you talk about that wee bit of support. So the HNC is a really good stepping stone then. Why would it be such a good stepping stone for students who are maybe thinking about moving on to university as well? What's good about, you know, staying on in the college for another year?
Well, we have much smaller class sizes. So, you know, for people that perhaps are returning to education through the SWAP course, it seems like a very big step to go from college, 1 year at college, after being out of education for several years and straight to university. So to stay with us, it means you've already got your relationship built up with your lecturer. We know what your strengths are, we know what your challenges are, we know the areas that you need to develop. So we can support you with that and really get you ready for university if that's something that you would want to do. So we're able to use that relationship really positively. I have often found working with SWAP students, it's not their ability that stops them from applying to university, it's their confidence. So I would see the HNC year as not only building on skills, because it's a huge amount of learning that's involved in HNC, but also building on people's self-esteem and their confidence and getting them to see themselves, I'm ready now, I'm ready to move on.
That's great, and it kind of feeds into some of the work the students will have been doing on their SWAP programme. Initially on their prep for HE, we talked about things like mindset and self-reflection and expectations. So I suppose students might be in some way resetting, Carolyn, and having to kind of look again at their expectations, their mindset and their goals and bring in some of those skills from prep for HE. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that. Having taught the HNC for several years now, there are certain bonuses, I think, that come from doing the SWAP course. So we're getting people, you can imagine if you've come from school, nobody's really asked you to reflect on yourself, your skills, your writing ability. Whereas when I've got students who come through from the SWAP, they've already started that process. We're asking you to do that in a much more in-depth way. Because of the placement element that's involved in HNC, I really want to make sure that we've got reflective practitioners that are out there doing the work. So the reflection part of it is hugely important to me. The expectation part, I think that's important as well, because people have perhaps done very, very well at SWAP. So, you know, they've never had remediation. All of a sudden they're coming to HNC and we're telling them, you need to rethink this, have a think about this, work on that. But again, it's because you're doing that step up. So people need to reset their expectations of themselves as well, and take some of that feedback, because that feedback is there for them to build on. We're not looking for superstars from day one, but we're going to make you a superstar by the time you're finished. So
what does HNC look like in terms of the structure, Carolyn? How does that differ to, for example, some of the work the students have been doing in their SWAP programme? Does it look different?
It does look different. Of course, the main, as I've already said, the main difference would be the placement. And that is the bit that people really look forward to. So everything that you've learned in your SWAP year, some of the skills that we're going to introduce at HNC, you're then able to put that into practice. So what we're able to do is build on some of the units. So you've learned, for example, lifespan development at level 6, but we're moving on to level 7. But then it's really about that application of your knowledge of psychology, sociology, for example, and how would that help you to work with someone on placement. We'll be introducing new units at that level as well. So about how you would go out and assess someone in care, so looking at the care planning cycle. We have obviously a big focus on protection and being able to safeguard individuals. So again, that work will have started within the SWAP year, but we'll be building on that. And we'll also introduce new units. The main difference about it is your main piece of work and what we call your graded unit. So the grade that you get at the final year is based on placement. And that's when you consolidate all of your knowledge and really show me that you can put it into practice. So bringing it back to the fact that this is a registrable qualification, we need to know that people can use the knowledge that we're giving them to successfully support people in the community or in a residential unit within health and social care. So that's what you're assessed on. We're looking for you to use your knowledge, use your skills, and show us that you can put it into practice.
Do you have any kind of final thoughts for anyone who's moving on to HNC or maybe still a little bit undecided? What are your final thoughts about moving on to HNC from the SWAP programme, Carolyn?
I would say that the HNC is very much a positive destination after SWAP. It is a positive step for people. It can be really useful for people who want to work their way through university. So it's not as if you say you're coming to HNC, that doesn't mean to you're not choosing university, it just means that you want another year. So for some people who recognise, unfortunately we've all got bills to pay, unless you're married to a millionaire, which is not me, we all have to work. So for people who think, well, I'm not going to be able to survive perhaps on my SAS funding, but I don't want to be taking a job that's not connected to what I'm doing at university. So the HNC would be a good option for them. They get their registration and then they're able to go on to university and perhaps take a sessional job, a part-time job, that will again really help them to consolidate their knowledge. There's something that's quite useful when we're working in this type of work, to be able to learn something and then when you're at work you think, that's where that's used. That's how I would use that. So although it's exactly the way that I did my degree, when I did my social work degree, I was working in health and social care the whole way through, first of all in residential care, and after that in the community, supporting adults with a learning disability. And it was very, very much useful for me to be able to see the things I was learning and then be able to put them in practice. So it's a real positive destination for people. Other people may want to go and work after the HNC, and again, that can be really positive for them too.
It's great that you can go in at that almost a practitioner level after the HNC as well, which is a great option for the students that are looking at that social care HNC, you know, progression rather than moving straight on to degree. And it's good that you get that chance to think again at the end of the HNC as to where you want to be. Well, that's fantastic. Hopefully there's lots of information there for the students, for our students to take away. And if anyone else has any requirements to find out more about HNC social care, we would ask you to speak to your college, speak to your tutors, and get as much information as you can. Thanks so much, Carolyn. That was great. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us. Very best. Cheers, Carolyn. Thanks. Bye.